Jacobs, the Balance Doctor. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. Be sure to subscribe to The Kim Jacobs Show right on YouTube. Turn on your notification bell to all so you never miss a beat. And guess what? Every time you watch, you're going to receive a real relevant and relatable guest that's going to share with you a piece of the puzzle on this journey called life that will help you be able to manage just a little bit smoother. At the end of the day, the Kim Jacobs Show goal is to be able to provide balance to the world, one household at a time.
Kim Jacobs Show. You're watching Kim Jacobs Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of The Kim Jacobs Show. I'm super excited to have with me today Sheri Graham. How are you, Sheri?
I am fine. I love the music and I love your intro, and I was just kind of sitting here chair grooving.
All right. So glad to have you. And listen, everyone, we're going to jump right into today's episode. We're talking with Sheri Graham, who is a business owner for over 50 years with clients in 90 different SIC codes and all statuses in life, career. She's a behavioral health communication scientist and an expert in human communications and systems and dynamics. She's a legacy maker, a lover of life, happiness, and do it or do not do it. But there is no try. You could be my twin sister. I feel like I say that all the time. Either you do it or you don't. There's no try. So we are kindred spirits. Volunteer for over 58 years, an award-winning author and international speaker on over 240 topics to small and large groups. Welcome, Sheri Graham.
Thank you, Kim, for taking part of my long 50-year bio and shortening it up. You got the crux of it.
Well, you got to tune in as you heard me listening to my niece going across the stage. She was like, "What are you listening to?" I was like, "Wait, I have a niece that's graduating from high school." So I'll be putting pictures of several of my nieces that are graduating today and just recently. So there's some great celebratory milestone moments in my family as well. So I was like, I have to hear my niece is going across the stage right now.
You know, Kim, it is marvelous to see the young are those coming behind us who are who made their mark in high school.
That's right.
And who will be the next generation. I guess how many decades? For me, they're 5 generations behind me.
Right.
But they're awesome.
Yes.
And for everyone that may not find their way because there's not someone there to support them, or they feel like there's no one there to guide them and there's no one they can reach out to, no one to discuss what choices I can make. This group of kids, I think, are just super. And it's not because they're going into college. They are becoming who they are no matter what they decide to do in life.
That's right. That's right. I love that. I love what you're saying. Listen, with Sheri Graham, she's one of the authors, and you may have seen her on when I've brought in a group of authors from a book called My Walk Past Hell. Let me put that book up for a second. And that's an anthology that's actually pulled together by Dr. Yolanda Jerry. And there are 30 authors, well, 31, including her, that are a part of this anthology, My Walk Past Hell. As you can see, there's imagery of a woman. She's in hell, and then she's kind of like walked past it, and the hell is behind her. So one of the authors in this book is here with us today, and this is Sheri Graham, to talk to us more about her story in My Walk Past Hell. So tell us what your chapter is about.
Oh, that gives me goosebumps. Shortly after I signed on to tell my story, because it had taken me almost 70 years to write my story. And if it had not been for Yolanda and Kern Cherry and some other of my tribe, probably wouldn't be sitting here today with you, because for many years and decades, it was a story not to be told. Wow. And now as I share part of it, well, my parents, my grandparents, we all grew up in that era of you're born in the 50s and you walk through the 60s and you're told, keep quiet. It's in the family. It's no one's business, but what happens in the house stays in the house. And for many years, I let it go. I dropped it. I felt bad. I found myself just kind of repressing those feelings of what happened during my youth. And unfortunately, I love my parents as my biological parents, but my faith in God is the only father right now that I am so totally committed to. And he's the only one at the end of my day. And whenever my life is over, if it's today or tomorrow or after the show stops, I don't know. I'm okay. As long as I'm okay with how God sees me and what I do and the decisions I make. But those first 18 years, 17 years of my life were, no one ever asked me what I wanted to do. What did I dream to become? Because of two things. My mom was drug dependent on prescriptive drugs, opioids. And we didn't call them opioids in those days, but we did call them, there were prescriptive drugs. And it took me probably the first 8 years of my life to realize what she was doing to herself. And whether it was her own non-relationship with my grandmother, and I didn't realize that my mom did and my grandmother were at the same kind of odds as I was with my mom. That came when I was in college. But mom's prescriptive, and I have to say her alleged undiagnosed mental health issue, mental illness issue because of the opioid addiction, that impact stayed with me for decades afterwards. Even when I thought I was okay and I didn't think about it or I had forgiven, forgiveness goes a long way, but then somewhere I'm happy. I think I'm happy, but I'm not happy. And yet every day or maybe once a week, that something she would say to me would pop up again. And I was lucky to have her in my life she died in 2008 at the age of 78. And so I had her for many years, but I learned early on, Kim, that I had to walk away from my family unit. They were toxic. The comments that were said to me as a child. I remember when I was reading what I wrote back this morning, there was a section, because I've always been a writer. I was published when I was age 10, thanks to my 6th grade teacher. In an anthology on patriotism, and you had to write about what you loved about America. And there were 100 kids across the country, and it was done in a mimeograph, little 6x9, bite in half. Yeah, and everybody got a copy. That was your, reward. And I was one of the 100 chosen, I think, when I was 10 and 11. So I was published twice. But I remember later on, she would say things to me like, you didn't write that. Who wrote that for you? I played the piano. She was hard. I didn't know she had, she was tone deaf. And she would tell me I was off key. So you hear those criticisms, and they were not constructive. They were criticisms. Never once thought to ask me what I wanted to become when I was growing up. And I don't remember those conversations. And I know they did not take place based on the negative comments that were very abusive, emotionally abusive. And they triggered throughout my life when I had done something correct. I was great, and she lauded it to the world. But when I did something wrong, there was a condition. And so my parents' kind of love was a love with condition.
Wow.
I do not remember either of my parents saying to me, I love you. It was always, we love you. And parents, if there's one thing I can say today, don't put the feelings of both of you with your children. If you're with your child, say to your child, I love you. I'm your mom.
That is
I love
such
you.
a great point.
Yeah. Don't put words in the mouth of the other parent or the other person. And I remember, even as I think the last time I said something to my mother was in the early 1990s when my father had assaulted me. And that's not in my story, but it's part of my history. And I remember standing on their porch at their house the last time I had been there to visit. So you can tell the time frames of my not being there.
Right.
And I said to my mom, why can't you just tell me you love me? And she had no response, no answer, couldn't tell me. And I remember getting into the car, driving away that day, just in tears, because that meant more to me than anything else. Had my mom or my dad independently, just each of them said to me, I love you.
Okay.
And, or I love you. I'm proud of something that you did. And when you grow up with an unconditional love, that there's conditions tied to everything you do and tied to that love, it sets the pattern for misbehavior, bad choices, the emotional trauma that I kept with me and then I avoided for many years. And it probably wasn't until, and I know I wrote in the book, my chapter is called, gotta read it because I forgot it. Got too many articles on my mind. The life path chosen for me. And that's pretty true because God chose the pattern for me. And I write in my story about if I had had a choice as a young baby, as I'm coming through the life and of being born,
right,
would I have stayed? Yeah, I would have. Because I know that what I learned, positive and negative, has made me who I am today.
Of course. Yeah. Well, I agree. I agree with everything that you're saying as far as our life experiences have shaped who we are today. And I really like the point that you made is don't put words in the mouth of the other parent. When expressing your own individual love, say I. And several of the studio audience members are chiming in. Keep your comments coming because I'll put them right up. Let me also let you all know during our flash round, here is a link if you should decide that you want to pop on the screen directly and ask a question face to face with Cher. Use this link that I just popped in the comment section. But Ernetta says that, hey, yes, I is powerful to use in I love you. It's a big difference in saying we love you versus I love you. I personally love you. I love that. And Dr. Yolanda Jerry is on here today, and you know her very well.
Yay! Hello.
She is here today. Great morning to you. Wow, 10 when you were published. That is awesome, Ernetta says. And now listen, if you all want to get a copy of the anthology, My Walk Past Hell, directly from our guest today, Sheri Graham, you can email her synergytosoar@gmail.com. The book is only $20 and it includes tax and shipping if you go ahead and pre-order it today. I also see some of our other studio audience members. So I see you, Ernetta, saying amen. And I think I see you, Chantel, saying good morning. Good morning to you and hello to you, Ernetta. Keep your comments coming. Let us know where you're visiting in from today. Today, we're talking with Sheri Graham, who is here to teach us about several components that are perseverance, completion, and communication. And so we're going to be deep diving into that more with Sheri Graham. But your story of triumph is one that you didn't feel celebrated as a child, is what I think I'm hearing.
That's correct. I know that I was an early achiever. Looking back now at what I accomplished as a teenager, I hope that when I write, because I'm working on a specific book for teenagers to talk about legacy building and volunteerism, because that's all I did during high school. I babysat, but didn't date, babysat on the weekends when everybody was out dating, but I volunteered a lot because I felt that was my assignment, that was my goal, and it paid off. I mean, I was doing it to help me because I needed something to fulfill part of my heart, but I also knew that every time I touched somebody else's life, I got more out of it. I know that I touched their lives, but I got my bank filled up. And that's, again, you have to find those ways in which to be happy. And in the
Right.
middle of chaos, you still be happy no matter what.
Well,
And
I
yeah,
love it. Our lives seem very similar because not everything, but as far as from a volunteerism perspective,
Mhm.
when I was a teenager, I used to literally volunteer at nursing homes and would if I promised a sucker, I would go take that sucker over. And even if they didn't have a situation where they could really chew and stuff like that, I just was so happy to witness the joy that just a simple act of kindness did for those that didn't have people coming to visit them in the nursing home, but they looked forward to my visit, just to polish their fingernails, to read the Bible to them, whatever they wanted me to do do bowling, whatever activity they were participating in, I did that with them. And so you're right. If teenagers grab hold to filling that heart space by doing something kind for others, it will make a difference in their lives.
Yeah, it did. And I think that's where, when I looked at PCC, because I use it a lot in my workshops and in my speeches, and I have over a course of time. That's an old affirmation and an old process I used growing up. But persevere is a key word for me. And I remember when I was going through my Con Cristo years ago, and it was a weekend, a very blessed weekend retreat that the Catholic and the Christian denominations, when I was living in Ohio, had. One of the things that when I had to give my testimony one night, that our host said was that perseverance was probably my middle name. And he's right, because no matter what the outcome, positive or negative, I've always persevered. And there were times when I didn't make good choices and I still kept going. But that was when I was living a very unauthentic me. Was happy living, the life that a lot of people would love to live. And I grew up in an upper middle class community, a middle to upper middle class. So the balance of, did I have friends in my neighborhood? Not really.
Right.
We had 13 girls. We were all the same age, living in a row. I lived on the other side of the road, and everyone else lived on the opposite sides. We didn't have fences. We could run through everybody's yard to get to the other house to go somewhere, or the backyards. That's how open it was.
Right.
But looking back, and I had a conversation with the girl who used to bully me. She apologized to me in the 1990s when I lived in Atlanta, and we're probably better friends today. And we went through 12 years of schooling, and decades later, she realized she was bullying me. But we realized our parents didn't get together. We lived in this wonderful community, but did they have cookouts with the neighbors?
Mm-hmm.
No. Our parents were there to take us to school, attend school functions. Maybe the kids got together, a lot of them got together. I was sometimes on the outside because I had a brother who was 4 years younger.
Okay.
And, girls did not want somebody who had to drag their kid brother with them to go play games on the porch or go play with dolls or do things that girls did. And that really impacted, I think, the quality of my relationships with my girlfriends, with the girls in my neighborhood. So sometimes I was isolated and alone. I felt alone.
Okay.
But you just keep going.
Of course.
Yeah. I mean, I was a dreamer. I wanted to do things. I had my dreams. I still have dreams today. I've been very fortunate in now being around other thought leaders, other people who've made their wealth in different ways. Because I think wealth is a word that we might equate with assets and money,
Mm-hmm.
but I equate it with life.
With overall life.
Absolutely. What is abundant in my life? Is it the quality of the people?
That's right.
What's happening now, and to mend those fences and look at total life. And I have to laugh. You were talking about, you use the word balance. And I'm at the point now where for years I've said, why are we separating work and life? We act like work isn't part of our life, and we have no life if we work.
It's all together, intertwined.
Thank you.
And
Absolutely.
I have a whole theory that, you know what, even when we think we're out of balance and out of sync, we're really actually in alignment with what God's will is for our lives. So there is no out of balance, if that makes sense from my perspective. I just feel like God knows exactly where you're going to be, when you're going to be there, what season of life you're going to be going through. And so I'm actually in the process of finishing another book that has my more mature, updated version of my philosophies, because your philosophy kind of changes as you're going through this journey of life. And once you come into the real understanding of the knowledge of the truth, you know?
Oh, I agree. You know, I grew up in Church of Christ, non-denominational, non-musical, non-instrumental Church of Christ. So I learned to sing a cappella at an early age.
Wow.
Which I'm glad I did, because now I can harmonize in 3 parts. You know, I sang all the way through high school, and I sang in college, and I sing today. But I love that harmony piece when somebody else is singing, you know, is singing, then I can harmonize with whatever tune they're singing. And I think that's a gift, because not a lot of people can harmonize. I have
not a cappella. You don't belt
No, absolutely. And, you know, it's funny. I miss playing the piano. I wish I had my piano back, but I look back on those days now, and I was blessed with having second parents. I had friends of my parents who were in our church. But one of the things that I recall, and I carried with me until probably 10 years ago, is sometimes growing up in the Church of Christ, and I'm sure that my friends and colleagues who hear this and who still attend the Church of Christ will not be happy with me for saying this, but growing up in the Church of Christ or any denomination can be detrimental to your health. And it's just a way of life. It was a way of life for me.
But why? Why are you saying that? Because I mean, growing up, being involved in my church is not, well, I don't know, it's not detrimental to my health. So I'm trying to figure out what you're talking about.
In the Church of Christ and in some denominations, they don't practice what they don't walk the talk.
Oh,
and I have to say that,
I get what you're saying.
Okay, you have people who don't walk the talk. And this is where my parents did not walk their talk.
Oh, I get it. Okay, so that from that perspective is detrimental to your health, is what you're saying.
It was detrimental to my health. And so did I still believe in God? Absolutely. My grandfathers were elders and deacons in their churches. And my one grandfather, my maternal grandfather, helped to start a small church in New Concord, Ohio.
Okay.
And I have nothing against any religion, but my spirituality comes from every belief system. I practice meditation. I practice Eastern and Western medicine and meditation and rituals, only because I believe that our God is all encompassing, and that no matter what we call it, because I'm also of Indian heritage, so Mother Sky, Father Earth, you know, we have these facets of our life, and they make each of us who we are, but we've got to figure out who we are.
We are. And see, that's an interesting thing, because here on the Kim Jacobs Show, you know that there are people from all different walks of life that grace the stage and grace I mean, you're in your bubble, I'm in my bubble, we're in our different homes. And it's an opportunity for people to hear different varying perspectives and views, because my goal is to be able to bring balance to the world overall, one household at a time. So sometimes you may, as a viewer, connect with me, and sometimes you may connect with Cher, or you may connect with another guest. And so my goal is to not come on and cast judgment on what anybody believes in any way, shape, or form. Believe what you want to believe. Yeah. And I'm big on do whatever you think you feel comfortable hanging your soul and your hat on. That's cool. Yeah. And I, obviously, everybody already knows, if you've ever watched the Kim Jacobs Show, that I believe wholeheartedly in Jesus Christ. Absolutely. And I celebrate my belief, and I'll scream it from the mountaintop that I believe Jesus Christ is a son of God, and he is my personal savior. And that's why I hang my soul and my hat on as well. So share people, more people are giving comments. Your strength and your story is so impactful. Thank you for sharing from your heart, is what Ornetta said. And then Paula says, you are right. Coming from starting over a few times, material goods sow, not measure your wealth.
No.
That's good.
Yeah. And Paula's right. The older I've gotten, the more that I thought I had everything in place. Right. And I've lived in 3 different communities during my lifetime. When I went to college, I didn't want to go to college in my hometown. I didn't want to go to college where everybody else was going because I wanted to get away. But you know what? I went to college 2 hours away from where I lived. And everything that I had learned or unlearned or didn't learn or was about to learn in that future part of my life went with me. So there was baggage there. And I look back at, I went to Kent State University, and yes, I was at Kent State on May 4th, 1970. And that was probably the biggest aha moment in my early 18 years that I'd ever had. And I'm thinking, looking back now, and I mean, I laugh because I'll walk by something and I'll hear something. I now found out that over the years, I've been an empath and an intuitive all my life. But I ignored it. Found out it was a gift, but I ignored it. And I went, I'm not. Oh, yeah, I am. Okay. Now I embrace it.
No, I don't.
Yeah, right. And I didn't. And I embraced it. It was in prayer this morning. And the consistency of what my life is now, because I do the same things. So I'm seeing this rush into a beautiful, new, bountiful, abundant life that I'm about to embark on. But those past years, man, I'm thinking, where was I? Did I live in La La Land? I grew up in this beautiful community. We had green yards. We all mowed our yards on Saturday morning or Thursday night.
Right.
And the school bus came by, picked us all up. I went to school 2 miles away on a school bus. I went to school 13 miles away for high school. Wow. Where was I when I went to college? Why did I not know all the stuff that was, where was I? I mean, it was the 60s. Where was I?
All of this parts of these big chunks of life when you go back and you start analyzing. It's like, where did all of this go? What happened? Listen, when we come back from this commercial break, I want you to literally tell us, like, how did it all come together for you and that aha moment? What was it? And what did you finally say, I got it now?
We'll talk POC or PCC. Absolutely.
PCC right after this commercial break. Listen, everybody, today's episode is sponsored by snowlegal.com. 704-358-0026. You can email them at info@snowlegal.com if you're dealing with any type of workers' compensation or some type of claim that you're not exactly sure of. They'll give you a free consultation if you just reach out to them and let them know that the Kim Jacobs Show did send you their way. So go ahead and make sure you reach out, say the Kim Jacobs Show sent you, and make sure you learn more about Snow Legal Now. We'll be right back with Sheri Graham to hear more about PCC right after this.
I'm attorney Kenneth D. Snow, and at the Snow Legal Group, justice is our job.
For more than 20 years, Attorney Snow has been fighting for justice and winning cases in the Carolinas by providing aggressive representation in criminal defense, domestic violence, family law, serious injury, and wrongful death. If you've been injured or lost a loved one in an accident, including tractor trailer or rideshare, you need the Snow Legal Group by your side, fighting for justice and fighting for you. Visit snowlegal.com. Call 704-358-0026 for a free virtual consultation. Located at 6827 Fairview Road, Suite D in South Park.
All right, everyone, we are back with Sheri Graham. So tell us, Sheri, and if you have questions, please type them in the comment section. You're part of the studio audience and your opinion matters, and everything that you want to just say. If you have a quick question, type it. We'll get it answered for you. Listen, Sheri, what was that moment for you that PCC all came together?
I was 9 when I first realized that I had to do what I needed to do for me. And that was with my mom's drug addiction. I became the parent sometimes when her behavior was so erratic. There were days when we would go shopping with her friends. And I remember one time, I think I was grown, but the first time that I realized I was on my own was when I was young. And I realized that her wanting a pill versus prayer versus anything else was part of the challenge that my family faced because they wanted it hidden. And I remember when I was younger telling cousins who were older and family members that mom had a problem. But I was a kid. We don't believe kids. They didn't believe me. It wasn't until I was older and they realized from their own experience while I was there that what I had said to them the entire time was correct. And their own friends would say to them, Sheri, you've got to do something for your mom. I can tell you, I tried to talk to my dad and my brother as we became adults and older about mom's drug addiction. We needed an intervention, but they were not willing to they were in denial. They did not want to admit that she had a problem. And that led to her having so many illnesses that the hypochondriacal nature and behavior that she showed all those times. You know, she would say, if you had a headache, Kim, she would have a migraine. If you were, and I will relay this, and this is something I've never shared with anyone. I remember my dad's best friend and his wife were talking with me one day, and he had said, my dad's best friend said to his wife, well, maybe you should tell her that you're pregnant. And the response I made was, well, she'd probably tell you she was having twins. And when you have that type of thought process from the drugs, when your self-esteem is low, I really think my mom was in a depression state. I think her self-worth was not where it should have been. I saw the behavior and the attitude and the verbal abuse between my mom and my dad, both. I mean, it wasn't one or the other. It was both of them. They were very unhappy. I learned manipulation at an early age. And I think that was a pattern of behavior that I learned that kept going. Now, I'm a behavioral communication scientist, so I do study the behavior of everyone else. I had to go into therapy, and I'm so glad I did after my first divorce in the 1980s, because I knew I was making really poor choices. My business was not where it was. By this time, I had a pretty successful business. I had spent time teaching and education. What kind of role model was I for my kids? How could I ask them, here's what I want you to do, when, my golly, I wasn't doing anything that I should have been doing, wasn't following my own plan. I didn't feel guilty about it because I didn't feel like I was being unauthentic. But you know what? I was. And so the perseverance came, but the completion was temporary. I would complete and go for time. Oh, every life is great. Oh gosh, life is not great. And then I'd get into that depression and never had a thought of suicide. Even though I love blood, I love blood, and I mean that from the standpoint that I
what you mean by that.
I work in crisis management, and I do a lot of work with crime prevention and domestic terrorism, and so you have to almost just be, you know, it's okay when I'm in a hospital and I can walk with someone through if there is something that they need help with when there's blood involved, or so that's what I mean. No, it's not like I'm a zombie or a monster, whatever they call it. No. I'm not into that.
Judge over here, Sheri, but then I'm like, wait, what?
Hey,
we need bubbles. This lady love blood. I'm like,
thanks. You said we were just going to talk today, and that's how it came out. But no, it's a matter of I'm okay in a crisis. That I'm there, and because there are some people, I had a brother who, I think they told me he passed out when one of his kids was born, but he doesn't like blood to this day. But
that happened with my mom. She was like, when my first son was born, she was like, "Oh, I see blood." I was like, "What? Over here? How is this possible?" And everybody will rush to her and help her. We're like, you know what? This is getting ridiculous. I need some help over here.
And you are probably not the first mom who has had grandma or grandpa, for that matter, do the same thing, or spouse.
Yeah.
Or friend. Yeah. Whoever was in the labor room with you. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was my spouse and my mom, and I was like, oh man. But share. So people are commenting too. Let me make sure I share these comments. The Zakia Mabry says, appreciate you being your authentic self, share. And Pamela says, great morning to you, Pamela Tate. Mother Patricia Lofton says, God bless you both. Continue to share your story with the world. And Mother Lofton is over a large group of women within the Church of God in Christ denomination in our jurisdiction. I'm under her leadership, and she's such a great example. Let's see. The Zakia Mabry says, laugh out loud about the blood brother. Such a powerful story, Sharon. Thank you for sharing. I can relate to your story so much. That's what I was going to say. So many people, even though you're terming it PCC, perseverance, completion, and communication, there are so many people that, even though it's not been coined that way, that start something.
Yeah.
Stop. What's your advice for people to be able to really bring something all the way through from start to finish to completion?
The completion portion of my journey has probably been the most challenging. What I would say to someone is, when my memoir comes out, and well, it's not going to be a memoir, it is a life path of my journey next year. There will be a lot of tips in there about how to stay focused. I was focused, but the end goal, sometimes when I got to the end, oh, okay, now what can I do? Stay true to yourself. I didn't stay true to myself, but here's what happened. God knew ahead of time.
Yes.
Where my path was going. When I was 8, 9, 10, I wanted to be a writer. I majored in journalism in high school. I did everything in high school that I could to write. I won awards. I won awards for writing later on in life. But here's where I took a wrong turn. Because no one bothered to ask me what my goals were. What did I dream of doing? I don't even remember dreaming about getting married and having a wedding.
Oh, wow.
And both of my marriages I learned something from them, but in the middle of it, and that's a whole different, we can talk about my trek with with Mama's Boys. That's a whole other humorous story. But what I learned was, Mama's Boys are not always nice. But what I learned was about completion is, determine who you are.
I'm sorry, because you're trying to stay focused and keep it going, but then you're dropping these like little nuggets, and any post would automatically.
This is how my life was. This is how I got, okay, well, I can do this. Wow. When I got my first divorce, it was 1981. I moved an hour away. I am from Zanesville, Ohio. It's Southern Ohio, second capital of the state in 1802 for a year. And I just kept moving, thinking I was going to something new. But guess what? The baggage kept going with me. It didn't leave. Everywhere you go.
I promise you, because I told you I'm in the final phases of a book that I'm writing as well. It's going to seem like we're very similar in our wording, because no matter where, I say in my book, no matter where you go in the world, around the country, you can relocate, you can go on the other side of the world, but you go with you. You're going to take you with you. I take Kim no matter where I go in the world. And so we are very similar in our thought processes. I don't know. You can put a mole, you can put a wig, you can put a dimple, whatever. You are you.
Kim, if I hang out with you guys a lot, this is my own hair, and I laugh because, and I know some of my fellow tribe members from my book and elsewise are going to understand this. A lot of my friends from all ethnicities and all communities are into wigs. Now, I haven't gone there yet. And I'm about to, I turned 70 6 months in October, and I am about to decide, do I want to be a brunette? Do I want to be a redhead? I don't know. Do I want short hair? So I am on this
self-discovery.
I'm persevering in discovery to complete something different from my 70th birthday. Don't know what yet.
Please send a picture and tag us so we can say, this is what Sheri Graham decided to do.
I'll just come back on the show. But that's where completion comes in. when you complete one goal, always realize it's one step. It's not the end all. When you complete that, if you decide that you've lived in a life of not having financial wealth, and you make that commitment, I want to go to college, not sure how I'm going to do it. I want to become a nurse, or I want to become a police officer, or I want to become an electrician. Whatever you need to do, remember, that's just the first step. The next journey is, now going out and putting what you've learned into action. When you became an online host, what were your steps that you went through? We all go through the same steps. And that's where the completion came in. Never, ever give up on what your goal is. Write it down. I hate when someone says to me, and I don't use that word lightly, so it's a pet peeve, I have it in my head. Well, guess what? No. I have clients who won't write business plans. They choose not to write them. It's not that they won't, and it's going back to do it or don't do it.
Right.
They choose to either do it or not do it. And so the other thing I need to say to everybody is write it down and look at it every day. Become accountable for what you dream that you can do.
If you don't write it down, it's not going. I don't know how it happens, because there are some people that don't write things down and they're wildly successful, but I cannot. I don't understand how you can get somewhere and you don't know where is the visual, where is the guide, something that takes you on that journey that you can go back and look for.
As a scientist, I bet if you went back and asked those people who have, quote, you seem to think they are moving ahead and they're wealthy or they're successful, 2-to-1 that their success has had issues and they're the most unhappiest person that you just don't know. And they may be the person who's in debt, but they're not telling you they're in debt.
Nobody's going to tell everybody everything. You better believe I've had some pretty horrific things happen in my life, and I have not shared. I've not just gone to everybody in the world about some of these things. And it's like, so we only put the image that we want shared in the public. That's not how it is behind closed doors with everything. Okay, so write it down and become accountable is what Sheri Graham is saying. Also, Sheri, what is your mantra, your overall affirmations? Talk to us about this communication piece. How do you communicate your affirmations?
Okay. I'm just now redoing my whiteboards. You can't see them because they're over here, but let me turn here and share with you. I have 3 affirmations. I used to have all these affirmations, and I do. I have cards that I take with me. They're all over my house. I put them in my bathroom. I'm in my bedroom when I get up. But here are the 2 that I live by most. Number 1, my belief in God and Jesus is my foremost. They are the captains of my life. They are the CEO and the chief financial officer or chief abundance officer of my company. That's why my title is executive vice president, because it's God, Christ, and then me. That's number 1. Number 2 is success is my only option. I just hired I hired a spiritual business coach. I'm going through an academy from someone that I've been friends with and colleagues and peers with for 30 years. Now I need to rebrand. Her philosophy is success is our only option. Now, what do you call success? Doesn't matter. It's up to each of us. And the last one is, there are 3 questions I ask myself. What do you want to be? Who do I want me to become? And what will I do to become me? And that came from me, because years ago I had to ask myself, who am I? And the last thing we talk about communications, focus on completion. FOC is another acronym I use along with PCC, because if you stop focusing on completion, whatever your task is, if you have to make a meal, if you've got to write a note, focus on what you're doing and stop the multitasking, because as a behaviorist, your brain doesn't multitask.
Nope.
You think it does, but if you concentrate on one activity at a time, your brain takes that in and remembers that. But when you overload, and multitasking is just not a way of life, but you think it is, people do, I would not recommend it. So my next nugget is one task at a time. one
Yeah.
focus at a time.
One
Complete
thing
one
is
task.
bring it to
Yes.
closure.
Yep.
Bring
Think
it
less.
to closure.
And think less and do more. So those are the three that I have lived by for so long that and it's kind of cool because other people that I didn't know, gosh, they've come up with the same thought process that I've had for decades. And it's really cool because then I can say, oh yeah, I know about that.
Yes, I cannot wait for us to do some more things together because you're going to be, I was a young author at a very young age. I was a part of the Judy Blume and Beverly Cleary Authors Conference. I had some type of published something, but I have no idea where it is. Growing up in projects, I don't have my stuff. Like, I think like I got to find out where's my stuff, my stuff, because I have a nice package that I wrote when I was younger for the Young Authors Conference and was selected as one that was being honored in award. Okay, listen, Diana said, amen, amen. Pamela says, success is my only option, according to what you were saying, and also focus on completion, which is one of your sayings as well. Pamela is recapturing that.
Now,
Wow.
I need to give credit to Michael Burnoff for focus on completion. I went through a week-long part of his studies on average sucks. It's the name of his new concept now. And he's right. I don't want to be average anymore.
I'm not average.
Yep. I got a t-shirt to prove it that average sucks. And he is the founder of a human communications academy, an institute, because he believes that, and I've said this for years, that how you communication with ourselves first, from here, from our frontal lobe and cortex, all the way back and around. Communication starts with what you tell yourself. And if you don't listen to you, God gave us 2 ears and we don't listen to ourselves, talk to ourselves. And that's where communication from the ground up. So when you communicate, you complete. When you complete, then you continue to persevere. So it can be CCP or PCC, but those are the 3 verbs and nouns that I use continually.
Wow. Listen, everybody, we're talking with Sheri Graham, and Sheri has been kind enough to actually share her contact information with us as well. So if you want to reach out to her just to be able to learn more from her, share your story with her. Let me see if I have that somewhere. You know what? Oh, it's over here in the comment section. I'm going to put it back up here again, your email. So that everybody gets a chance to stay connected with you. I know we're putting the email for you to purchase her book, the My Walk Past Hell, but also if you just want to email her or stay connected with her, here's a way to do that. And I'll put that up here as well. Is synergytosoar@gmail.com. The book is $20 if you want to go ahead and pre-order that. And it's her story in an anthology that's prepared by Dr. Yolanda Jerry with 31 authors, which includes Dr. Jerry in that. It's $20 for tax and shipping, and you can pre-order it today. You can also email her just to share your story, your journey, get some words of encouragement from her, and learn more about how you can persevere, complete things, and also how you can communicate better on your journey. So right now we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back. And what I want to hear from you, Sheri, just to give you a heads up, is what is one carrot of wisdom that you would share with your younger self now that you are, like you say, decades older? Tell us what you would say to your younger self when we return back after this commercial break. Okay? All right, so today's episode is also sponsored by attorney Charles Everidge with Hunter Everidge Law Firm. That's hunter-everidge.com. They focus on injury and disability. And if you would like to give them a call, there in the Charlotte and the Richmond area, you can call them at 704-377-9157. And their email, you can also inbox them right on Facebook at Hunter and the and sign Everidge, and you can share your story with them as well to determine if they will be able to help you on your case. Let them know that the Kim Jacobs Show did send you their way, and we're going to learn more about Hunter Everidge right now, especially like when people pass away and it's no fault of their own. You want to have somebody that knows how to handle those situations. Let's learn that more now.
When someone has lost a loved one, they want to know what exactly happened. They want to know, is the other person going to be held responsible? And they want closure. At Hunter and Everett, we help clients that have lost a loved one move on, and to do that with dignity and respect that they deserve.
Wow.
All right. So we are back with Sheri Graham. And Sheri, please tell us what you would say today to your younger self so everybody will hear it.
I am so glad you asked me that, because I have already written a second article in a second anthology, and I did just that. It was Thankful and Blessed 365 by visionary Sheila Farr, and I got to give credit to everybody, Yolanda, and thank you guys for getting me back on my writing and speaking journey. But we had the opportunity to write about what we were thankful and blessed for, and I did that. And I wrote to myself, and I shared with you before we aired, and I'll share with the audience. My Christian name, oh my golly, I have never released this. Only people who knew me in high school who still call me Sharon. My Christian name is Sharon.
Okay. I was wondering, because we talked about the 5 names for the.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't like it. I was a Sharon till I was 11. I think after the second anthology came out when I was little, I just didn't feel like SHARON. But when you go back to write your younger self, you have to include every name that you use, because that is a part of who I was. So I wrote, Dear Sharon, Dear Sheri with a Y, Sheri, ERRIE, and I use Cher now because so many Sheris are around the world. I spell it SHER. What I would tell my younger self, and I did tell my younger self, is memories are blessings. It's that simple. Don't go backwards to remember, whether it's positive or negative. Always live for today. Remember your energy. We're all made of energy. We're all vibrations of the earth. So energy that we put out can come back to us. What do you dream? What do you want to do? Dream big. Dream as big as you can, but remember that what you put out, God's got a plan for us. Jesus is here, and he's got such a sense of humor. God's got a sense of humor, and that's what I wrote to myself. Always remember, God's got a sense of humor. He's got a plan. You have an assignment. You may never know what it is. I just found out 4 years ago what mine was and is today. And keep persevering, but don't ever be who you are. Be authentic. That's what I told myself, and I would continue to do that today. And I do tell others, be the person that you want to be. Know that the positivity that you give to someone else will come back to you.
Always.
So, absolutely, always. And you can make choices in life. Psychologist Mel Robbins says that there are ways that we can, by choice, change our mindset. You can change your mind. You can rewire your mind. You can rewire your choices. And when someone says, I can't, I've done this for years, we've always done it this way, I laugh and go, really? Okay, fine. But here's what you can do to change.
That's
and
right.
She taught me something that I learned in college, and it's 5 words. When you hear yourself say something negative, I don't want to get up today. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Wow, I'm getting up today.
Yeah.
Change that. It's that quick that you can change
really
your
have
mindset.
a great philosophy on that.
I
And
know.
It's just that.
It's that simple. If you stop before you make a decision, don't make it from emotions. Don't make it from the head. There's somewhere in between. Something that I started doing is, and I was doing this through when I was going through a course last week. The instructor said, in my case, I have $100 bill,
Mm-hmm.
or you can take a $20 bill or a $5 bill,
Right.
or $1 bill, fold it up and put it in your pocket and carry it with you for a day, 2 days, a week. Don't use it. And think about, what could you buy with that bill? With that, maybe you want a piece of candy or, whatever. And I did that for an entire week. I took a $100 bill, I folded it up, and put it in the pocket. I didn't put it in my purse. I always made sure I had it in my pocket. I had a pocket on everything I wore for a week. And I remembered it was there. Didn't touch it, didn't take it out, but I remembered those words. And at the end of the week, I had a $100 bill in a pair of pants, and it went through the washing machine. And when I remembered that $100 bill, and that's a lot of money for any of us, no matter who we are, and it came back out and it was clean, and it was right where I left it. That reminded me that life is more important. Life is more important than the value of a dollar bill, of any bill, but and life is precious. And it taught me now to think about what I buy, what I do, what I save, because that was something that I didn't know as a child. Money was here. It was always there.
That's right.
And and it doesn't matter if the mindset of anybody, whether you have whatever the value of your bank account is, and there are theorists out there who say your bank account, what you do, and all your education,
right?
It's gone by the wayside. Everything is based on experience and behavior.
That's
and the
right.
choices you make. But I am so much happier today, because at 64, I woke up on January 8th, 2016, couldn't walk. I had gone to bed at midnight. I sleep. I have 4 hours of sleep every night. And that night I went to bed. I was fine. I could sleep. I could walk. 4 hours later, I go to get up. Alarm goes off, and my left side from my waist to my toes would not move. And there was so much pain that I knew exactly what it was. It was emotional trauma that I had not dealt with, that impacted this, 60 years of crap of the violence and the abuse in my family. When parents argue back and forth and the kids are caught in the middle, and I was a kid that was caught in the middle, of parents, take care of my brother, act like your age. My parents bullied me, and they allowed my younger brother to bully me when I was younger. You're the oldest. Oh, stop being so sensitive. I mean, I remember all that. I remember day, time, and place when it happened. But that part, when I thought I'd learned to let go, I carried it with me. It was still here, and it really impacted my body. And at that point, Kim, I was involved with 18 other people who, for an entire year before that, we had started to plan mental health programs. We had formed a mental health coalition here in South Alabama.
Yeah.
And we were getting ready for the next 3 years of conferences and workshops. And I'm one of the co-chairs, and I'm stuck in bed. I can't move. I'm thinking, my gosh, what are we going to do? But you know what?
You recognize what it was. And actually, the lady Justine Hillier said, sounds like mental stress. And you see Zakia was on, and she's been making comments. She did a whole series last month on mental health awareness on her show. So make sure you all check out Zakia Mabry's post as well. Yeah. So what was it? Tell us what happened.
It wasn't STRESS. Anyone who knows me will tell you that I do not believe in STRESS. There again, if you tell yourself that's what it is and that's how you feel, guess what? Your body's going to go, oh yeah, I feel stressed. Stop telling yourself negative thoughts. When you are STRESSED, turn it around. You can either choose STRESSED or you can choose desserts. Now, which do you want?
Chocolate chip cookies.
All right. Well, all right. Now, one. Not a whole lot, Kim. One.
You have to be specific, Cher, okay?
Well, but think about it. STRESSED flipped around is desserts. All right. So when you think about that, I knew that's not what I wanted. As a writer, I write positive things. When I write negative things, now that we have social media, and believe me, I came through the ages of my first email account was Yahoo, it was AOL. And that's how far back I've been involved in technology, because my first clients as a consultant and as a business coach and a life coach were technology based. So I came out of artificial intelligence in the 80s when you guys didn't even know what it was. Most of you probably weren't even around. Maybe not even your parents wouldn't even think you should be here or were here, or you were just coming into the world. But I look back at that experience and everything that I did. I mean, I had affluent, high level, C-level clients, and I wasn't happy. So when I moved to Mobile, I'm thinking, what am I doing to myself?
Right.
But I did. And that's where God stepped in. And I had a second marriage and a divorce. And I look back at the patterns that happened in my life as a kid growing up, looking for love in all the wrong places. I thought I had my dad's love. Did I? No. That condition, when I had to do something or when I did something right, there was always a condition. When I did something wrong, there was a condition. And that's what I wrote about in my article. So for me to sit here, because I can tell you, if you ask my brother, my dad, anybody in my family, what I do today or what I have done, it will not be negative. They don't know. Nor do I care that they know? No, it doesn't really matter. I'm proud of who I am. But when I started back in mental health and becoming a mental health advocate after being on the sidelines and working within being advocates and being a lobbyist for many years, it became my focus and my passion. And so when we started our the South Alabama Mental Wellness Conference, we were ahead of the game.
Wow.
Because our stats here were up in crime and mental health and suicide and alcohol use. And not that they're not any worse today, because I look at the numbers that are creeping up now, and it's not men related, it's women related. When you've got alcoholism and use of alcohol up 30 to 40% within the female population, we still have issues.
Wow.
But my team came together, and I didn't know what was going on, but I learned meditation didn't help. I mean, I was using everything I could think of. I called in all my holistic practitioners, all my friends. I mean, every day we need to do, emotional tapping. We need to do, what can I do? Yoga, Tai Chi, what? And I went to my doctor. Oh, well, I practice it all anyhow. I teach all of this. I am a holistic practitioner as well. And I look at it and going, okay, I can work through this. I laid on my couch for 6 weeks, not knowing when it was day or night. My cat knew that I was ill, and she didn't leave my side.
So how did you recover from this? Because I want to know how did you ultimately get through this phase of your life so we can.
It was with the support of the 18 people on my committee. We moved our first conference a month later. Okay. And I can tell you that first 4 weeks of not knowing day or night, I worked as hard as I could. I had friends they brought me a walker. They brought me a chair from my bathroom because I couldn't walk very far. And I made that decision, that choice, that I was going to get out of my house. And the only place I could walk, thank goodness my driveway is paved, I used my walker and I walked 10 steps in my house. And then I walked 20 steps. And then I kept using the walker. I walked outside in my backyard, in my driveway. And that's when I figured out, 10, I have a half circle driveway, 10 full circles around was 1,000 steps.
Right.
And I used that walker everywhere I had to go. I couldn't drive. It was with God's grace. It was truly the help of friends who were there to support me. And I learned the other thing, ask for help.
Yes. Asking for help is so critically important.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for the people that supported you to help you get back on your feet and in your mental state to be able to do everything that God has purposed and destined for you to do. And so you were walking and
Yeah.
soaring.
And I'm still on assignment. Yeah. And that's where Synergy to Soar, the company name that I came up with, Synergy Solutions Collaborative, is very important to me because and I'm going to play on words. My first name is spelled SHER and then energy, because I love energy, and I'm always, 90% of the time I'm energetic. I probably have friends and colleagues who say, yeah, I'm human. That
Right.
10% of my downtime. But share energy is what I work toward every day to be happy, to bring that to the masses. And you kind of got part of my new rollout campaign that's coming out in October, Share Energy. And it's a takeoff on the old Share Energy hosiery. So you'll see some new things coming out soon.
Well, you keep sharing this positive. You keep sharing this positive energy share. And listen, she has so many different books that you guys can get a hold to, as my grandma Key would say back in the day. You can get a hold to these books right at synergytosoar@gmail.com. If you email her, get a list of all of the books that she's either wrote a chapter in, or she's actually authored herself, or her previous books. Make sure you know that you can go to synergytosoar@gmail.com and request her books, and you'll be able to start learning a lot more of Sheri Graham's philosophies. Sheri, thank you so much for being a guest today here on the Kim Jacobs Show.
Thank you, Kim. And just to let everyone know, I have a website. It is sherigraham.com. There's a contact page, and you can reach me through there too. But thank you, Kim, and thanks everybody for tuning in. And I hope that something I said resonated, and that you will persevere, complete, and communicate. Okay,
everybody, there you have it. It's PCC, persevere, complete, and communicate. And go ahead and reach out to Sheri Graham at SherGraham.com. For those that are the podcast listeners, I have podcast listeners too on iHeartRadio and iTunes and Spotify, all of that. Okay, so synergytosoar@gmail.com. And listen, thank you all so much for tuning into today's episode. Friday is Freestyle Friday. You know what that means here on the Kim Jacobs Show. We have experts that are coming in to talk to us from all walks of life. Be in your seat at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we'll be sure to have a great episode lined up for you. Sheri, you are absolutely motivational, inspiring, and really encouraging people to soar to the next level. So thank you, Sheri Graham, for being my guest today.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you guys for being in the studio audience. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye. Hello, everyone. I'm Kim Jacobs, host of The Kim Jacobs Show, where we're bringing balance to the world, one household at a time. Listen, we go live every weekday, Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I bring guests on that talk about their backstories, things that they've had to overcome to become who they are today. Many of them are balancing and juggling life, and they've become experts in different fields. So they're sharing tips with you to make your life just a little bit easier. Many times as a guest in the studio audience, you'll get a chance to walk away with a missing piece of the puzzle that might be missing in your life. Let's go on this journey together, and I look forward to seeing you Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Kim Jacobs Show.